Everybody, hi everybody. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, so I think it's all going, and let's see if everything's working. Okay. So, hi everybody. This is 1,723 days since Richard, uh, you know, they they took his life. They took his life in the line of duty. After severely, continuously retaliating against him. I'm thinking, they whitewashed it now in his file, but they absolutely bullied him and abused their power and weaponized what we have entrusted to them for the security and the discipline of our military, but they used it as a weapon to silence a whistleblower. And it escalated. Richard just didn't give up. He wasn't, he just doesn't give up, right? This is our family. We don't give up. And it escalated to his murder. But there were other things behind that too, because Richard was really working in conjunction with the Trump administration. And what do I mean by that? Because in the military, I I don't know what you call it. I call it a mutiny. A mutiny was going on. General Mealy, General Kelly, General McConville, General Garrett, and of course Lieutenant General Bernabe, um, Major General. He got a star. I guess he got a star from this. David Stewart. He got a bloody star. That's what he got, a bloody star. It's, well, so did Donna Martin, um, Lieutenant General Donna Martin. That's a bloody star. Of course, all of them, all of them, they have dishonored our uniforms. They've dishonored our stars. They've dishonored our country. And so, this was a huge cover up because there was a mutiny going on. And those generals, General White, of course, General Matlock, Patrick Matlock, he's a major general. I guess he's a major general. And then Major General Clem Coward. Absolutely. All of those that I've named um, are up to no good, are absolutely up to no good. And so, but the one that we really um, dealt with when we were there face to face, that was really put in charge of Richard's case, the early part of Richard's case, was Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe and Lieutenant General, of course, Donna Martin, because she was the provost marshal. She was the IG of the CID. She was a CID, and then they promoted her um, to the IG of the Army, which proves that there was really a mutiny in our military. And it wasn't with Richard. Richard was absolutely on the side of the commander in chief, on the side of defending the Constitution. He wasn't on the side of the criminal trafficker thieves. They're thieves, or absolute thieves, because they steal whatever they can. Um, and they traffic it. They traffic. And, there's I have to say it's a syndicate, right? It's a network. And you had in the Walmart mass shooting case, exposing that case, you've seen that you had the Mayella Crucius criminal family network group that included the federal courthouse, the DA's office, the AUSA for the Western District of Texas, the FBI, and of course, Walmart security, and and the ISDs, Priscilla Mata. Um, you see the corruption, the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court. So you've got the courts, you've got just this network that was working in cahoots within the inside of Fort Bliss, which was the Harts, which was Sean Bernabe, which was, of course, the CID, uh, Tavita Nusa and Marlon Soto Hernandez, and then Cynthia Hernandez Nieto, working in intelligence on Fort Bliss, and her husband is a special agent for the FBI field office there in El Paso, uh, Jesus Eddie Nieto Jr. Um, and there's more, there's more. Then you have the LLCs where you come in there with Jonathan Ambrose, and this is all cartel connected. Okay, this is all cartel connected with Danae Katzen, with KTSM, and of course they have El Paso Matters in this that are so criminal. With Bob Moore, he's so disgraced, he's so discredited, he's so criminal. And now with KTSM, with this reporter, um, wow, they're just absolutely so criminal in what they do, and they try to control people because, if they're harboring or have special visas or whatever, they can control people. And of course, that's the purpose because it's a $1 billion business with the trafficking, 10,000 children at a time, hundreds of thousands of children. Then, of course, weapons and ammunition and gear and supplies and even vehicles and things like this, Humvees and stuff they've stolen, um, that they traffic that, turn it around, resell it, and then, of course, the substance abuses and everything, that, we're getting asked a lot about that. Um, but there's a lot of ongoing and active cases, investigations, because we have documented, well, we've we absolutely have found so much criminal activity that we've documented and filed it. And so, and here it is, Easter Eve. We're almost at 5 years. And, when you reflect on this kind of criminality and you think about the passion of Christ and what he told us and what was going to happen and what was going on at that time about being betrayed into the hands of men, right? Being betrayed into the hands of men. And the very people that had waved their palms at him and laid down their their tunics for for the triumphal entry into Jerusalem were now calling, crucify him, right? Because he hadn't done what they wanted, right? What they wanted. They, they want to preserve um, their certain living, and they want they want impunity, right? They want to do what they want to do with impunity, and that's not the right way. And you see this criminal group acting just like, you can really compare it. It's like the human nature, right? Human nature. And that's why I say Richard was such a hero, because here he was, just, his birthday's in June and he was murdered in July. He had just turned 21, and he stood for what was right, and he stood for the Constitution, and he stood with the Trump administration. He stood with President Trump, and President Trump was absolutely, because you see what he's doing right now. He is turning off the criminal spigots, the fraud, the waste, and the abuse. He is designating the Sinaloa cartel and the narco politicians as the big T organizations, the really foreign T organizations, which really is important legally, and how you can go about it. And that's why it took like the Supreme Court last night on, can you believe it? I think it was just past um, Good Friday, right? Just when, so, when you get the timing of the passion of Christ, you know that the betrayal was on Thursday night, right? The betrayal was when Jesus tried to make a treaty with Judas, right? Gave him the sop, and but Satan entered Judas, and Judas, so Jesus said, okay, what you have to do it quick, right? Do it quick. And Jesus then was handed, betrayed into the hands of men. And at that time, the whole Jonah comparison, Jonah and the well, came into play, right? Came into the prophecy, was then fulfilled, right? Um, or starting. Whereas when you are betrayed into the hands of men, you are betrayed into the heart of the earth. Because when you compare Bible verses, what the heart of the earth is, it is in the hands of sinful men, right? In the hands of sinners. And so that was the beginning where you're inside the heart of the earth, right? Inside the belly of the beast, because they are controlling you. And remember, Jonah was in a living monster, right? He was in a living monster, and taking him to the depths. And this is what happened to Jesus. He was betrayed into the hands of men, into the heart of the earth. And that happened Thursday night. And that the whole passion then continued into Good Friday, when they crucified him unjustly, totally unjustly. I mean, it was so unjust that the judge, Pontius Pilate, had to wash his hands, right? Had to wash his hands. He felt so dirty. And and now we're in this Saturday, where you can just picture the battle. It's the battle that's going on against death, right? This battle. Um, we took a trip. The last trip that we took with Richard was to Israel, to the Garden of Gethsemane, to the way. We walked the way of the cross. Um, and Yeah, so it is very, knowing that Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks, betrayed into the hands of men. into the heart of the earth. Um, it's just Jesus always gives you an example of um, human nature and what you might face, because we're not going to go to heaven on flowery beds of ease, right? While others fought and died on bloody seas. That's a hymn. Um, am I a soldier of the cross? You have to, you're taking up the cross, and it's a battle because the demons want to destroy whatever is good, whatever is true, whatever is godly, whatever is from God. They want to destroy it, and they want to bring in their own impunity, right? They want to do whatever they want to do with impunity. And, that means hurting other people. They want to hurt other people and get away with it. And this is what Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe has done. He has hurt so many people. It's not just Richard, right? I mean, he is just he's just committed treason in my and and I'm not a law scholar or anything, but when I look at the damage that he has done and the way he treated us and the way he lied to us and the way he covered up for the cartel network that included the Walmart mass shooting. I hope everyone understands that included the Walmart mass shooting and those victims, because he absolutely was working along with Nieto, and he was absolutely working along with Veronica Escobar. So FBI and the representative, he couldn't, they could never get away with the Walmart mass shooting. And I would say to you that absolutely, absolutely, we have confirmation that the military was involved in the Walmart mass shooting. And that was an operation. That was an operation to divert attention from what the Trump administration was exposing there in El Paso and on Fort Bliss. And because of Richard working along with him, working along with the Trump administration, being the whistleblower. And I don't know if there were others, but I know Richard was one. And I know that the Trump administration, President Trump, brought up Glennon Oakley Jr. to the White House. So I know that he knows who Glennon Oakley Jr. Um, was, and his part, that what he did, and his beautiful bravery. Just that's the only word I can use for him, is beautiful, because he was just so beautiful in that video. And the next day he was crying because he was so bullied, He was so they went after him. The attack dogs were unleashed from this cartel network. And the cartel network absolutely has their attack dogs, okay? Their keyboard warrior attack dogs. A keyboard attack dog. I don't want to give them any kind of niceness, because they're so brutal. They're so inhumane. They're just, if you only knew how just disgusting they are. Um, and how bad they treat each other too. I mean, they treat everyone bad, and they treat themselves bad. So, and of course they went after him, and though, because they have the network, because they have the media, because they have the courts, because they have disgusting leadership like Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe. um, and you can say, oh, he wasn't there at that time. Matlock was there at that time, but they have that. It's like a buddy system or a demon system they're demons together, right? They're demons together, and he absolutely covered up for the terrible treatment that Glennon Oakley Jr. suffered under, and Richard. And Richard, the whole concealment, he absolutely knew about. And I just released on Facebook some other things that he knew about. And it can get so much because we have a robust mountain of hard evidence, y'all. A robust mountain of hard evidence. And if you know me well enough, we would never call for really this tribunal that, if we had a decent one, Sean Bernabe would be facing the death penalty. His violations are so egregious, so treasonous, that he would absolutely be facing the firing squad if we had a decent one, or whatever the death penalty is for that. Um, because it is just, and it would be for multiple times. Look what they did to Patrick Crusius. They gave him 90 consecutive life sentences, almost 7,000 years. Well, how do you give Bernabe consecutive death sentences, right? Because of his multiple egregious um, violations in this over and over and over again, right? And continues to this day. So, um, the one of the things that after the first part one that went viral twice, right? It's been viewed millions of times. Um, we decided to put together part two and talk about Leilani Hart's affidavit, her sworn confession. Um, I think this is really important because he had it, he knew. And like the Mayella family, right? The Mayella family, nobody wants to mention all of their conflicts of interest, all of their crimes that they've committed, right? The fact that Mayella's daughter is married to Petra Crucius's brother, and they whitewash it, or they put very little online because they're so guilty. They're so guilty. They have to be in hiding all the time, right? Um, and and I'm talking about Lorraine Mayella too. So it's not just Michael Mayella, Michael F. Mayella, and Michael G. Mayella, and this trained hacker, this cybersecurity working at Walmart cybersecurity, could handle all of the CCTV footage, and it's just so criminal that he's part of the federal courthouse handling all the cases. And um, absolutely, when all this comes out, I think our jaws are going to drop even more because this is what's coming out in the light. Just think about what's happening in the dark, right? That we don't know about. But so you have Lorraine Mayella treating the victims, right? So it's like, oh, tell me, how do you feel? What did you see? What do you know? I mean, it's so obvious, this control of witness statements and witness tampering. Then, it's just so obvious their network. And and then of course, you have these four guys, right? The Brian Blake Crucius, and Michael Mayella Jr., and Dallas Hart, and Jonathan Ambrose, and they all have like these roles that they play with all their computer training. If it's if it's hacking or interfering in cases, having access to cases, or if it's with LLCs, or if it's with banking, with um, they all have these certain skills that's pretty organized. It's like, okay, so who's behind them, right? Who's behind them? Who's the big fish, right? Who's the big fish? That's a hunt. That's a hunt. So, because then you have the Hart family on Fort Bliss with the military, with, of course, Jonathan M. Brees, with, of course, Dallas Hart, and in the VA, in the CID, and Richard's unit is really the Delta Battery. It was very particular because it had the fuel. It had the fuel. So, one thing you need when you're trafficking is fuel, right? So, once you start uncovering uh, why it was Delta Battery, and who has the turf on base, who has the turf at the federal courthouse, who has the turf in the DA's office, who has the turf in the FBI, who has the turf in the intelligence, who has the turf over at the criminal law magistrate court, because that's, felony intake. That's who, those are these imposter individuals acting like judges since 2015. They were supposed to be, and they are still supposed to be, elected. And so they have no legitimacy, really. So they're just con artists, um, conning you, saying, wearing a robe and calling themselves judges, and they're not. They're not legal judges. And it's like some people right now calling themselves astronauts. They're not astronauts. Um, it's I've seen so many memes with that today. People were sending it to me. It's just hilarious, like, oh, um, I'm changing a light bulb, so I'm an engineer, or I'm taking my blood pressure, so I'm a doctor. You know, it's this is the thing. These individuals over at the criminal law magistrate court in El Paso, they're not anything, right? They're con artists. That's what they are, and they need to give back all the money they've been paid, wrongfully paid. And it's um, the same thing with the medical examiner, right? The medical examiner being illegal and a fraud, getting what, almost a $500,000 a year from taxpayers, and not even being legal. And the Texas Constitution requires that you be a citizen. He's not even a citizen. Um, they try to tamper, and all they do is create more crimes, like Montoya with the 2028 timestamp. Sorry, this is 2025. 2028 is not. That's years away. That's years away. So they just to cover up all their criminality, they tamper, and they have access to, of course, files, and they tamper with the files. And that's even in the VA office with, whoever is going to getting medical treatment, and is connected with the VA. Better watch out, because I know that they searched Rob's file, his military file. They had access to everything. They went through it with a fine tooth comb, y'all. And because they were harassing us and letting us know. But, they just lost. They lost because they gave us proof that they were tampering with and getting access to Rob's 30-year military service files. And one thing that they learned, that Rob is just was served with such honor, served with such honor. They just couldn't find anything, right? They couldn't find anything. 30 years of beautiful, beautiful service. And, he's very decorated and he's such a humble man. My husband's such a humble man because he's very decorated. And so I think they were just like, oh my, I want to say, oh, shite. This guy is good. And he is. He's just so good. I know only God alone is good, but he's very honorable. And so Richard had a very, very good example, a very good example. And so Richard didn't back down, and he was just total hero, to stand up to this. There's a sex, I call it the sex cult. That's the kind of the theme in this because of all the child trafficking. They want access to the children, right? They want access and they do the most horrible things to the children. And you see that in Leilani Hart's confession, the worst type of crimes against children. And then they don't report it because it's just only if I get in trouble will I report something, and she felt like she was getting in trouble on the 26th of July, 2020. And so she had to write that confession. That's my take on it. Because why didn't she report a lot sooner? Because it's a crime to not timely report on these crimes against children and in her own family and in her own situation. And if you read all 5 pages of the confession, you would just, it's just so horrible. It is just so horrible. And how did we get that? Well, because she was bragging. She was bragging. She got the FBI case number. You don't get a case number when you hand in your affidavit. But because she had access, see, through the CID, through the FBI, she had access and they gave it to her. And so, it was leaked. I think that's the best way. It was leaked to her. And so she was bragging, as I maybe, I don't want to speak for her, but it was like a display of power. See, look at me, I have access. I have people on the inside. And Tavita Nusa was her inside man, was absolutely her inside man. So, so if you read all 5 pages, which I'm sure that Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe did, and he had that, and they took no action, and she absolutely needs to be arrested. And I've been saying it over and over for years that Leilani Hart needs to be arrested ASAP. And this is what we're talking about, right? If you only read all 5 pages, right? We have to be careful what we put up because, of being reported. But what we did put up was enough. It's so bad. And I redacted so much of it because it's so disgusting. But she needs to be absolutely arrested. And it doesn't matter, because some people go, well, it wasn't true. She was false reporting. Well, false reporting to FBI is so criminal, right? She needs to be arrested on that one. So you can't just tamper with cases and do all this false reporting. I hear that people are getting swatted because people are doing false reportings. You can't mess with our legal system like that and our law enforcement system like that with impunity. You've got to, there has to be an accountability, or we're just not even going to have a civilization, right? We're not going to have a country. You won't be able to sleep at night in peace. Because people will just be able to do their crimes without, any fear of any kind of accountability. And this is the problem here. Um, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe absolutely knew the Hart family and the military connections, the VA connections, the Park University connections, the CID connections, the FBI connections, the LLC connections. He absolutely knew all of this, right? He knew it. And because, when we gave him Nadal Baim's name, when we found out who he was, he covered for that too, which, is Bradford Bugalo, which, is another piece of this criminal family group. Because Nadal Baim absolutely works along with all of them, right? And with all the fancy European cars, and with selling or putting in bids for ammunition for Western frontier training, and and then the party hall, and then other LLCs that the there it's uh it's very, once you see their little criminal community, when you write it down, when you draw it, when you map it out, it's very clear. They've had plenty of time to do this. That means that they have been committing these crimes without any fear of getting in trouble, because there's this big fish, right? This big fish that's behind them, and it's a hunt. So, this is uh, this is why what Sean Bernabe did, okay, the deception. I took I didn't want to say he was inactive. He was very active. You should have seen him at the meetings. He was very active with PP McGee, right? And he was trying really, really hard to cover all of this up with deception, with lying, and he wanted deception, 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 deception. And that was with Veronica Escobar, and with the FBI field office, Nieto. And it just goes right to this whole passion of Christ. You know, um, Nothing is new under the sun. Human nature, where you're betrayed into the hands of men, and then they try to just cover it up or participate with crucify him, and oh, under your law you can pardon one of these people, and they're like, oh, okay, we want Barabbas, we want the thief, we want the bad guy, right? And let's crucify the righteous. It's this just same human nature, fallen into the fallen nature of man, which is absolutely the heart of the earth, the heart of the earth, hell. And so here we are coming to the end, because they're not going to win, right? Um, Jesus conquers hell. Jesus conquers death. Jesus conquers the tomb. He conquers the beast. He conquers the heart of the earth. He conquers. So here he's been in it since Thursday night, right? Thursday night. And he is just on the verge. Um, his battle is won, and but it was won before, right? Because he said it is finished. Um, but he is going to burst that tomb and come forth, um, and the beast won't win. The beast won't win. And so, with that, it is, uh, our place, those that reject Satan, those that reject the evil, those that reject the corruption, reject the kid trafficking and the gun trafficking and the drug trafficking, reject it, and want to protect our families and our country and our government system. You see, this is the thing. You can't have a mutiny. You can't have a mutiny because we were also given information that President, and you can even check it. You can check it for yourself. That President Trump was sending in or sent in up to 160 ICE agents, um, into El Paso and Fort Bliss because of what was being reported. And the Walmart mass shooting was absolutely a diversion of the law enforcement, of the media. Just let's put all eyes on something really, really terrible. And that's why you see the obvious, obvious collusion and conspiracy. Um, and I have to use the word conspiracy because they conspired together to do this evil, evil thing for the open checkbook. It's no mistake that the application for appointed counsel for Patsy, for Patrick Crucius, happened on August 4th at 5:42 in the morning, right? And we have an audio that has Joe Spencer, his attorney, saying, well, I told Sam Madrano and Judge Guadarrama that I'd only get into this case if I got an open checkbook. I don't want to do it for nickels and dimes, only for an open checkbook, so to speak. Meaning the only way to get an open checkbook is to do it on the taxpayer dime, right? Um, unfortunately. And that's why they did that application. They approved that application so quick. So when did Joe Spencer say that? At 5 o'clock in the morning? And then at 5:42, they signed the application, approved the application for the open checkbook. I mean, when did that happen? Because the shooting happened right at 10:39 on the 3rd. And then you have the two surrenders. And finally at 11:06, Patrick Crucius surrendered. Then, he wasn't even arrested until like the 8th or 9th. His warrant for arrest wasn't even until the 9th of August in 2019. But the application for his appointed counsel was already on 5:42 in the morning, um, on the 4th. On the 4th, y'all. And that's not me saying that. That's the paperwork. It's right there. It's hard evidence. And so there's just so much like that that's obvious collusion and conspiracy and a redirection of attention from the trafficking, from the audits and the investigations that President Trump was doing there to close the border, to stop the cartel activity, criminal activity that was going on, that was infiltrating our military, our damaging our national security, risking our national security, getting leaks from accessing um, CID, FBI, our secrets, right? Our secrets getting leaked. Because look, if Sean Bernabe, he's known for leaking. He's known for leaking. So if he's a three-star general and he's leaking, and he is involved in this kind of crime, this is treason. this is, it is espionage or conspiracy to do espionage. Um, yeah, I'm becoming like a paralegal or something. It's it's so crazy, but the crimes are so egregious, and it ended up in Glennon Oakley Jr. being found dead on the 8th of April, 2020, and a few months later, in July of 2020, Richard. Um, and then what was it, October, or I think maybe December, Asia Graham being found dead, and and Asia Graham's witness was ran over. I don't think that was just a coincidence. And there's just so much. And then starting in March of 2021, um, absolute full throttle trafficking. So they weren't trying to do anything good. They wanted full throttle trafficking, 10,000 children at a time, hundreds of thousands of children. I don't even, we know the guns, the weapons that were like supposed to go to the Ukraine, they ended up, what is it, over 50% ended up with the Mexican cartel. Um, so there is real national security threat at the border. And this was all instigated and continued and everything by Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe. So what I we put out today, what I just posted up, what we did about Leilani Hart's um, sworn confession affidavit. And then also we added um, Judge Roger Rodriguez's whistleblower complaint that he filed the 18th of January 2022. And he sent it directly to Sean Bernabe when he called me up to notify me that he had submitted um, a whistleblower complaint in his official capacity as a judicial officer. And he said, I sent it to multiple agencies and I sent it to, at that time, it was Major General Sean Bernabe. And so Sean Bernabe had not only Leilani Hart's confession with all of you read it there, it's so bad, right? It's so bad that absolutely implicates her whole family. But then he had a judicial officer's whistleblower report in his official capacity, naming Leilani Hart and Tavita Nusa for the tampering and leaking of files in regards to Richard's murder case. Um, Also, their illegal relationship that they were having, and it's all there. So Sean Bernabe had that, uh, and that was hard evidence, eyewitness testimony, to naming those two as suspects in the murder. Um, and I haven't even, and I don't think I have, I've written it so many times, but it needs to be posted again. DES Thomas Kane's statements, his letter, his confession, also Corona's. I have to find his first name. He was working for the Department of State. He was DHS, I believe, and working for the Department of State. And then, of course, we have the other Department of State official um, that testified to Richard's remains being in um, them looking for Richard's remains in Mexico. So you have Nadal Bayim saying they found Richard's remains in Mexico. And all, so many other witness statements that we have written over and over again. And all and the cartel connection, the cartel connection. So of course, Richard was murdered, and of course he was murdered in the line of duty, and of course they disrespected his remains because they were trying to cover up this murder. Um, the remains are evidence, right? And so this is what Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe allowed to happen: the cover up, the concealment, and the cover up. And not only did he allow it to happen, he participated in it. He participated in risking our entire national defense, which he's done. So, and can you imagine any soldier wanting to serve underneath him? Any group of officers that want to serve underneath him? It's just disgusting. He just needs to be stripped of everything. And there's others, but he's the one that that lied to our face, and we saw it, and we can witness to it, even online, because the evidence is so robust, and it is hard evidence, y'all. So there's that's why Americans need to know this. So thank you so much. Let me see comments. Never give up. Thank you, Bailey. Thank you for coming on. And I just want everyone to have a really happy Easter tomorrow. It's going to be glorious day here. So I hope everyone has some good weather. And I've colored eggs. I do that whole thing, right? It's just not Easter without a good Easter egg hunt. Real Easter eggs, I do real Easter eggs, and with my mom this year. Um, so I'm all ready. And lots of cooking. Um, so hopefully everyone's going to celebrate. Those that are Christian, get out and celebrate. Enjoy the season. It is just, can you imagine a world without it? Can you imagine a world without it? It would just be betrayal into the hands of men continuously, right? That's what it would be. And it would just be death, 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 just spiral downward. So no, I'm going to celebrate big. I hope everyone does too. And really, we wish you all the best. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on. We love you. And we will be back tomorrow night. We will be back. God bless you. Bye-bye. And we will never give up.